Hello, everybody. Excuse me. My name is Annie Gibson, and I am the publisher at Playwrights Canada Press. Just realized I'm going to just check that I'm not muted. No, I turned the mute off this time. Yay! I'd like to welcome you all to our virtual reading tonight, and thank you for joining us. I wish we could be doing this in person, but on the positive side, doing an online event has allowed us to gather writers from across the country in the same space so we can introduce you to their new books. To describe myself, I'm a white woman with medium length light brown hair who's on the young end of middle age. I'm wearing a black sweater and silver earrings. I'm sitting in front of a blue curtain, but it's just my apartment. It's not a theater. I'd first like to acknowledge that the playwrights and I are joining you from the traditional territories, some unceded, of many nations, including those of the Inuit, Métis, and Coetson people, the Cree, Blackfoot, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, and Saulteaux, who care for the land in Treaty 6 territory. The Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Ga'ina First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation, the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations, the Northwest Métis, the Wendat people, the members of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Anishinaabe, including most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Mi'kmaq. We thank these people for their stewardship and their leadership, both past and present. Here in Toronto, or Takaranto, the place on the water where the trees are standing, where I, a settler, live, the original Indigenous caretakers of this place were party to the dish with one spoon wampum belt covenant, which asks everyone to take only what they need, leaving some for everyone else. With this in mind, I've made a donation today to the Wet'suwet'en Land Defenders Legal Fund. In the midst of a declared state of emergency in the province of British Columbia due to severe flooding and landslides, the RCMP saw fit to carry out a raid of Coyote Camp, a site of protest against and protection from the Coastal GasLink pipeline on unceded Wet'suwet'en territory, arresting 32 people, some of whom are still being held. If you'd like to contribute as well, we'll post a link in the chat with more information. I am forever grateful for the opportunity to work, play, and share stories here on Turtle Island. We are also grateful for the funding we receive from the Canada Council for the Arts, the Ontario Arts Council, the Department of Canadian Heritage, and Ontario Creates. Without their contributions, we wouldn't be able to bring you all of these wonderful books or host events like this one. I'd like to add a special mention for my fellow staff members, Blake Sproul, Jessica Lewis, and Ave Katheswaran, and of course, our board of directors. I'd be lost without this team of people working together. A few housekeeping notes for tonight. We've turned on the chat feature so you can send your praise to the playwrights. We encourage you to type in nice things about their readings. After each reading, we'll have time for a question or two. So if you have a burning question for any of our readers, now is your chance to ask. Either during each reading or shortly after, you can type your question into the Q&A portal. Our host will then read the questions aloud, so we'll all be able to hear them and give the writers a chance to respond. And you will also see that we have some trivia questions where you can type your answers into the chat. And the first person to type it in wins a free book. We've also created a document with the excerpt text so you can follow along if you like. We'll also post a link to that in the chat. And we have closed captioning tonight provided by National Captioning Canada. If you'd like to turn on that feature, simply click the closed captioning button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And I'm pleased to announce that we've begun our holiday sale. If you'd like to buy copies of all of the plays you'll hear from tonight, all of them and many more, head on over to playwrightscanada.com for 30% everything on the site. And now I would like to introduce you to our host for the evening, Carly Maga. During the decade preceding the COVID-19 pandemic, Carly happily spent 5 to 6 nights a week at the theater in Toronto as a former theater critic and arts reporter for Torontoist, The Grid, and Toronto Star, covering productions from Canada to New York City to London to Beijing. She was also a member of the Toronto Theatre Critics Association, president of the Canadian Theatre Critics Association, and a teacher of performance criticism at the University of Toronto, Brock University, and Generator. She earned a master's in theater and performance studies from York University, and before that, a Bachelor of Journalism from X University. Since the pandemic, Carly's home base has moved from Toronto to Calgary, where she is now the Senior Manager of Marketing and Communications of Arts Commons, the largest performing arts center in Western Canada, and home to resident companies like Theatre Calgary, Alberta Theatre Projects, One Yellow Rabbit, and Downstage, where she looks forward to spending maybe 3 to 4 nights a week at the theater because mountains. Carly, take it away.
Thank you so much, Annie. And thank you to Playwrights Canada Press for inviting me to host this evening's readings. This is one of my favorite things to do. I love hearing from amazing playwrights speak their own words. And with my history in criticism, I don't really always get to just chat with artists and face to face in this case, screen to screen. So this is a really lovely thing that I was invited to do. So thank you, Playwrights Canada Press. You're in for a real treat tonight. Let's start off with our first reading from David Owen and Barbra French, reading from the anthology called Long Live the New Flesh, 6 plays from the digital frontier, which is, I can't think of something more appropriate to start with in this virtual gathering about live performance in a pandemic. Also, as a lover of Canadian film, horror, and theater, having a title that references Videodrome by David Cronenberg, it really is like meeting so many of my loves at one time. So here's who you're about to hear from. David Owen holds a PhD in performance and theater studies from York University and an MFA in directing from the University of Calgary and an MA in dramatic theory and criticism from the University of Alberta. He is an award-winning scholar, a theater director, and a member of Playwrights Guild of Canada. His current research focuses on the intersection of performance, game structures, and digital technology. He has written on a range of related topics such as LARP, burlesque, roller derby, and ideology embedded within planned communities. His book, Player and Avatar, The Effective Potential of Video Games, was published in 2017, and he resides in Edmonton, Alberta. Barbra French, who is reading from her play included in the anthology Muse tonight, is a theater director, educator, playwright, and creator of Muse. Her passion for image-based, multidisciplinary approaches to storytelling led to a 20-year love affair with devised theater and co-creative art forms. She is an alumnus of Vancouver Island University, the University of British Columbia, and the University of Alberta. Barbra was the founding artistic director of the Etc. Theater Collective in Edmonton, In Other Words Theater in Nanaimo, and currently Vita Theater in Duncan. Additionally, she has taught acting and performance creation at universities, colleges, and private theaters across Western Canada. Her plays include Incoherent, Dossier, Shadow Play, Curiosities in Light and Dark, and Pause. And she's currently writing Sick, a full-length one-woman show, as well as a collection of short plays entitled Solo Performance Pieces for Mature Actors. Barbra lives on Vancouver Island with her husband, Greg. And I also need to provide some description. I am a white woman in her mid-30s, mid-length brown hair in front of sitting in my living room in front of a shelf with plants and books and a painting behind me. So thank you, Barbra and David, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Shirley. Yeah, I'm so pleased, and thank you to Canadian Playwrights Canada Playwrights Press. I'm going to say it wrong. Thank you, publisher. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and do this. So thank you so much. I am Barbra French, and I am a mature woman with silver hair sitting in someone else's dark living room, or no, this is actually a bedroom, because we're traveling right now. So I'm sort of not even at home. But I will be playing somebody who's actually 28. And that's going to be an interesting and fun thing to do. Yes. I guess I should start introducing the play Muse. There's a few things about it because it's a little bit hard. It's very visual, I guess is what I want to say. We used video mapping technology. Now, mind you, this was technology from 2013, so I'm sure it's moved forward since then at the time when we did this play. So basically, I'll just do a little intro. The story's basically about 2 women, although there is a 3rd character who appears in video in the play. The entire play takes place inside one of the women, the one that I'll be playing, Grace, the young woman. She is a brain damaged 28-year-old mischievous musical genius, and she's been institutionalized since she was 7. So the play practically takes place in the institution in her room, but artistically the play takes place inside her head, which means the entire theater, the set, the actors, and the audience are all inside her head. So that's a very interesting thing in itself. She actually makes a play with, a song with the audience. They create it together over the course of the play. and to show how she actually deals with the outside world because she's brain damaged. We used this video mapping technology, which means we could basically videotape different video on each surface. We chose 3 surfaces, as you'll see. We've got some photos actually that maybe Jessica could put the first one on. Yeah. So this is simply a photo of something that Grace would love, which is Big Macs, and it had a picture of a clock in the middle, which was rolling in video to show that she was concerned with the time. And that's actually the scene that you're going to be listening to tonight. In the next video, in the next photo, this is, we also imposed her memories from childhood on top of her. So this is a memory where she remembers somebody playing a cello. She is actually a cellist, but she remembers someone playing a cello. And in the next scene, or sorry, the next photo, yeah. So this is a memory she had of blowing bubbles out of a moving car, and we basically covered the audience in bubbles, and we used sound and light and video to sort of make her memories and desires and things that were going on in her head more real for the audience. And the next one is the next photo is an indication of, this is how we did the doctor scenes. So the doctor was videotaped with the other character in the story, who's Vicky, and she was sort of standing just superimposed on her video was on top of her, so that when the video ended, she would just be standing there. But it's like an assault on Grace's brain, which is why we have brain scans, and the noise was all very distorted and the language was distorted. It was very loud and bright light because it hurt Grace's brain to just have new people around her. In the next video, picture. So there were some times that she would be in crisis, and so we would have these huge tidal waves of water that would come and swallow her up, and would try to get on top of it. And in the next picture, even her dreams were, in this case, she was having a dream about being trapped underwater. So even her dreams were sort of expressed visually for us, so that the audience could really understand that we were inside her brain. Thank you for showing those photos. And I guess that's about all the introduction I need, except for saying I will be playing Grace. There are 2 other characters, Vicky, who is about 10 years older, and she's a nurse at the Ocean Parks Care Home. It's her first day meeting Grace and her first day working there. And then there is a doctor that we saw on video, who's the administrator of the Ocean Parks Care Home. And David Owen will be so generously playing both of those parts. So he will do the doctor and he will do Vicky as well.
Right,
So,
and just to tack on to that,
yes.
as you saw, the Barbra's play uses technology in a very central way to tell the story and to conceive the narrative. All of the plays that we selected for the anthology are similarly deeply enthused, influenced by technology and how they're told. There's a play that's almost a LARP that deals with zombies and and aliens. There's a one-woman show where she visually erases herself online, live on stage, while she improvises with the audience. There's a film compiled live in front of the audience while the actors are performing the scenes behind in a blue space. It's the full gamut, and I just wanted to say quickly, the anthology was put together to coincide with the release of a collection of essays of digital performance in Canada, which is coming out right away. We conceived it and it was pitched well before anyone had ever heard of COVID. So now that we are all used to transmitting narrative through screens, it seems like a very apropos collection to come out right now. And I'm a big Cronenberg fan, so the title really seemed to fit. And before we get into too far, I'm a white man who has just gone over the cusp of 50, but I hope it's not showing. I'm wearing a floral pattern shirt, and there's a looping video of candles, kind of festive candles behind me. Take it away, Barbra.
Oh, thank you, David. I guess I was supposed to wait for your intro on the anthology before I started. I apologize about that.
It all worked out.
it did indeed. Okay. I'm just scrolling to get to the top of the play here. Okay. So right now, actually, what you're seeing is you're just seeing Grace on stage, and there's a video. She looks like she's underwater, and then we start to play. Mm-hmm. 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 It doesn't fit. 4, 4, 3, 2. Here it is today. No. Today's the day. 4, 4, 3, 2. 4, 4, 5, 4. Today's the day. No, that doesn't ring right. There's a crack. It's still got a crack. Crack, crack. The ice goes crack when you give it a smack with a big freaking. Do you remember that day, that summer when we all went camping? Do you remember? And there was a skunk, a big black skunk, a big black and white skunk with a beady little eyes and a twitchy little tail. And he scared us with our axe. And so we turned around and he lifted his tail, and then Dad grabbed us and threw us on the air mattress, and he got sprayed. So then Mom had us open up all those tomato juice cans, one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other. And we cut our finger on one of the lids, and the blood came pouring out all over Dad's crossword puzzle. So he ran and he went over to get us a Band-Aid, and then he tripped over one of the cans and fell into the fire. 5, 6, 5, 4, 5. Here it is today. That was so funny. 5, 6, 5, 4, 5. No, that's too crowded. It's too fussy. It's here today. 4, 4, 3, 2. 4, 4, 3, 2. Heather should be here soon. It's 7:50. 10 minutes. She should be here in 10 minutes. We have our shoes on and our toque and our wallet with $11.28. Exactly. That's how much it costs. $11.28, and our shoes and our toque. 10 minutes. 9 minutes. 9 minutes. 6, 6, 5, 4. Maybe? That's too airy up there, right? Isn't it too airy? This is where David comes in.
Welcome to Ocean Park's care home. We're delighted to have you join our staff, Ms. Shelbourne. Despite what you may have heard, 60% of our patients have stayed with us through this management and staff changeover. Our new policies and procedures are in effect immediately, with an emphasis on structure. It's your job to see that they adjust with the least disruption possible. You'll report directly to me regarding all patients and treatment options. Is that clear? Good. Now, we are a small facility with 16 non-violent patients with varying degrees of mental illness. This first patient is Grace, one of our newer residents. She came over from Oaklands and has a history of disruptive behavior. Her last review did not go as well as expected. Now that I've taken charge, however, I anticipate great improvement. She is non-communicative, prone to fits of anger and antisocial behavior, and exhibits compulsive tendencies. She's a bit of a troublemaker, but not dangerous. Her symptoms seem to suggest a psychiatric rather than neurological condition, but tests have proven inconclusive. Now over here in room 12, we have Kelly.
Psychiatric? Non-communicative? We're not crazy. Just because we don't feel like talking, just because we like to have fun, talking is overrated. Who is this guy anyway? He just showed up, talking like knives. He just showed up, all shiny and smelling like old tree bark, rotting leaves, burnt paper. He's not supposed to come in our room. He's not supposed to come in our room. That's not the way. That's not the way. Heather is supposed to come in our room. Heather is supposed to come in our room. And the art therapy teacher, and maybe Kelly. But this guy, he's not supposed to be here. He's not supposed to be here. Compulsive. When the night settles warm and the moon's on the rise, there's a blanket of love, glowing stars in your eyes. And now it's 8:03. 8:03. 8:03. Where's Heather? It's Monday. It's Monday. Mama rock you to sleep. Mama rock you to sleep.
Good morning. How are you today? Good morning, Grace. My name is Vicky. I'll be your new nurse. I brought you some breakfast. I'm sure you're wondering where Heather is. I know she looked after you for a long time, but Heather had to leave. She wanted you to know that she's sorry she couldn't say goodbye. I'll be taking care of you, of things, from now on. You can count on me, Grace. Dr. McDougall mentioned how much you love music. Is that your favorite song? I like to hum when I'm nervous too. It helps me calm down. Would you like to go for a walk after breakfast? The sun is shining and it's not too cold today. All right, maybe we can do that later. I'll let you eat your breakfast and I'll be back at 8:30 for the dishes, okay?
She's wrong. It's only 10 minutes after 8. Heather's just late. She wouldn't leave. Where would she go? It's Monday. Only 10 minutes after 8. And Mondays we go to Walmart and the Big Mac counter. We get a Big Mac, large fries, large Coke, Oreo McFlurry for breakfast. $11.28. $11.28 and just the McDonald's cashier. We're not allowed to go to the Walmart cashier since the feathers were flying all over the place and the cashiers were running around trying to stuff them back into the pillows or plastic bags. And some of them were sneezing and little kids were running around chasing them. And a couple of old people were laughing and the store manager's face got really, really, really bright red. And he ran right into the cashier and went headfirst into the pillow and everyone was laughing and having fun. And Heather said that maybe we could use the pillows from here instead. Heather. That's the scene. Okay.
Thank you very much, Barbara and David. I've been lucky to get a copy of the book. It looks amazing, and I've read the script. It's great. So I recommend everyone pick up a copy. David, I just want to ask you a question about the process of working on an anthology about digital performance in a pandemic. Probably a once in a lifetime meeting of subject matter and context. So what was that process like over the past year?
Well, it was actually a 4-year process, if you think of it that way. And while I was looking at scripts and drafts of the scripts from the playwrights, I was also looking at about a dozen essays and 9 of them ended up in the anthology a lot of theory, thinking on that level, as well as the creative side. And part of the creative side of putting performances influenced by digital technology onto paper was the challenge of how to decipher that, right? Barbara's reading, we saw some of the photos to help us understand the video mapping. But for a play like Avatar, being in front of a blue screen and erasing yourself while you're projected large behind you is something that it really is difficult to translate on paper. Or a town choir where texts from all 5 different parts of Canada are brought in live and compiled, and the choir sings the lyrics live, just decided on the fly by the conductor, right? Like that's, yeah, it's hard to explain that.
And Barbara, Muse was first produced in 2013, and then the mapping technology that you used for that production was quite new back then. I'm wondering, in the time since, have you revisited the play? Have you thought about how you would do it differently now, or have you gone back and really looked at how the play would change with the new technology of 2020, 2021?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not up on the technology the way that it is right now. Like, I know it was just verging on doing amazing things. Like you could set it up so that if an actor moved, it would cue, so that it would literally map all the actors' movements and then would cue, all kinds of different things. And we didn't get into any of that. It was just coming out then. But it's interesting because we did this play with the video mapping, And then we took it to Vancouver Fringe after the production. And of course, we couldn't do any of the video mapping. So we actually had to find different ways physically of helping the show along to sort of express what all that was. And I found that I fell in love with some of the physicality of what we were doing. So for me, the great dream would be to remount it with all the new technology and then adding in all the visual physical stuff as well. I think they would just go together so well, but I haven't actually looked at what that technology looks like. This is a very difficult play because you have to find an actor who plays, like in this show, she plays the cello. She has to play some sort of an instrument. She has to be able to sing. You have to have video mapping technology. They've got to be good at physical acting. It's just like, it's a big ask to do all these things. So, but when I was sort of revisiting it about a year before, no, the year I guess that we were going through the rewriting process, and I sort of rewrote a bunch of it. So I would love to put it on again because it's sort of a new play to me now. Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you so much. And so we're going to do a quick trivia question to give away a copy of the anthology. So the first person to answer this question correctly in the chat will win a copy. So the question is, who is Grace waiting for?
There it is.
There we go. Paul Smith with the answer of Heather. That is the winner. So somebody from Playwrights Canada Press will be in touch to give you a copy. So thank you very much, Barbara and David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and next we are going over to Nguyen, who is the author of A Perfect Bowl of Pho or Pho. If you get a copy of the play, you'll get it. It doesn't really matter. So Nam is a Toronto-based playwright and lyricist of Vietnamese descent. And this is for you, Annie. His publisher forced him to write this bio less than a month after he graduated from the University of Toronto, at a time when his only work of note was this one. So Nam was also named one of Now Magazine's Breakthrough Stage Artists of 2019, following the premiere presentation of A Perfect Bowl of Pho at Fujian Asian Canadian Theatre Company. His plays have been performed in theaters all across the TPC streetcar network. Hello, Nam.
Hello, Carly. Hello, I'm calling from my bedroom in Mississauga today. The background is green. I am myself a 24-year-old Southeast Asian man wearing a black sweater. Behind me, you can probably see my bed because it is my bedroom. On my right side is my microphone. You might be able to see a teacup, basically. And I'm also holding 2 pens, which I'll be using to keep time because this is a musical. Wow. Yeah, cool. So yeah, it's for some context of this scene. This is scene 2 of Perfect Bowl of Pho, and we are in the previous scene we just introduced the concept of this show, and and I think that's all the concept you need to get the point, because it's basically a series of sketches in this show. But this is scene 2, Vietnam Pimpin', or World Cultures Day. The subtitle is Notions of Authenticity, Ethnic Pride, and Resourcefulness in Between Hot Rhymes About Pho, Da Ya, and Ben Dung. All right, cool. The beginnings of a dope beat plays in the background. Miss Jones enters a classroom with several students, including Jen. All right, class, remember that tomorrow is World Cultures Day, so I hope you're all ready to set up your country's boots with your yummy, yummy foods. The students cheer. Jen emerges from them, screeching, "Yeah! Jen, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but brah, 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 brah!" The dope beat goes ham. Jen terrorizes her classmates, destroying the room in the process. Yo, there's a shark in the water, ought to get out of the pool. Be a thought about to bring the hottest stand to school. I tell you, other bitches better be prepared for repeating. It ain't World Cultures Day until somebody is bleeding. Let's prepare for meat eating. It's a better repeating. I'm speaking down the list of reasons why my feast be leading. I got some chicken, pork, and you know that that we're beefing. And I'm spring rolls ready with a bit of reheating, pickled veggies on the side, milky coffee on the ice, your pickle rice, fried or white at no additional price. Not only that, I got a burner stove and cans of gas. You can serve a bowl of pho and I'm through kicking your ass, ho. So you might as well not show. Ha! Leave your dumbass pierogies at home. Don't know how you always burn nachos, so just quit it. You'll be finished by these dishes I make all on my own. With my mom's help, she does the cooking. I roll the spring rolls. Bitch, Vietnam pimpin', yo, stop, yo, bitchin'. I'm dishing out the dishes. Fresh out the kitchen, now I'm ready, steady, go international, and I'm never going slow, I'm Vietnam pimpin'. Jump to after school. Jen's mom is driving Jen home. So, tell me how you got detention. Miss Jones says I destroyed the classroom with enthusiasm and made gratuitous use of the B word. Jenny, again? But it's okay. She let me keep my World Culture State booth. And tomorrow, we'll see who's giving who detention. That's not how that works. Did you start the yaya? In case you didn't know, yaya, a deep-fried spring roll usually containing pork. Yes, I finished them this morning. Finished? But I wanted them fresh tomorrow. Huh? Whatever, it's fine. What about the pickled carrots and radish? You want those too? Honey, this is gonna take a whole day at least. Why didn't you start earlier, Mom? I have work, Jenny. At least tell me I'll have the pho. In case you didn't know, pho, a soup consisting of broth, rice noodles, herbs, and either beef or chicken. Of course, I just came from the supermarket. Jen's mom gestures to a bag by the driver's seat. Jen pulls a bag of broth powder out. Instant broth powder? But I told everyone I was going to have authentic slave away over a stove for 8 hours broth. It tastes the same. No, it doesn't. You ruined everything, Mom. Jen throws a loud tantrum. Jen's mom tries to calm her down. Jen! Jenny! Jennifer! Benjamin! Jen quiets down. Aren't you taking World Cultures Day a little too seriously? What are you even getting from this? The satisfaction of crushing my enemies? And a $20 gift card to McDonald's. Jenny, I'll take you to McDonald's myself if that's what you really want. That's not it. The other kids make fun of me at lunchtime. They see me with leftover noodles and they all have Lunchables. In case you didn't know, Lunchables, how your parents tell you that they don't love you. Ugh, Lunchables. I just wanted to show everyone that our food is the best. Jen's mom brings the car to a screeching halt. Why'd you stop the car, Mom? Because this is a family learning opportunity, Jenny. But we're in the middle of the road. Another driver pulls up behind Jen's mom's car. Jenny, beep! Our food is beep! Our food is humble! What do you have to? Get off the road! Go around! I'm trying to teach my daughter a fucking life lesson! Fuck you! Fuck you! To whom am I? They continue screaming swear-laden ad-libs at each other as the other driver pulls around and exits. As I was fucking saying, what do you have to prove to all the white kids? I didn't say they were white, but they are. Okay, they are. Look, when I was younger than you are now, when our family came to Canada, kids then didn't like what I brought for lunch either. But your grandpa told me this story, and I think you should hear it too, okay? Jen nods. Music. A mimed reenactment of the story of Lang Lu begins. Once upon a time, there was a king of Vietnam who was growing quite old. He needed a successor, but didn't know which of his 21 sons to pick. Vietnamese men, they get around. What? I don't know who your father is. Anyway, one of the youngest princes was named Lang Lu, but he didn't live a life of luxury like his brothers. His mother died when he was young, and he led a simple life as a farmer. When the king decreed that the prince to succeed him would be he who presented the best food to honor their ancestors on Tet, all of Lang Lu's brothers searched far and wide for exotic ingredients to make extravagant new dishes. Now, Lang Lu couldn't afford to venture to foreign markets, but he was far craftier with what he had. These were ingredients that even the poorest in the kingdom could access: rice, pork, mung beans. Using only these, Lang Lu created a rice cake called Ben Tung that he presented to the king. The other princes laughed, but the king saw its meaning immediately. By using humble ingredients, Lang Lu showed that he understood the conditions of his people and paid respect to the land and ancestors from which we all came. And thus, Lang Lu became heir to the throne of Vietnam, and all Vietnamese people ate Ben Tung every Tet to this day. Now, do you know the moral of the story? I think so. Don't worry about the faux broth, Mom. What I need is to flex on these hoes with some Ben Tung! Jen's mom sighs. The dope beat drops once again as Jen returns to her class the next day, again terrorizing Miss Jones. And then there's a little more song, but that's the end of the excerpt here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nam. So as you can probably tell from that excerpt, there's a lot of added information, a lot of personality, a lot of really amazing stage directions that are in the printed version of the play. So Nam, can you tell us about that process of adapting your script into this published format and adding those stage directions, and what do you think you get from the printed version that you may not get from just the performance of it on its own, watching it live?
Right. I think a really interesting thing about translating the thing to a book is just like I get to be a lot more in depth with like footnotes and whatnot, and just like all the little things that previous directors have done to like really enhance the comedy of things. And I just really have a very historically minded brain, so I love just throwing footnotes. Like there's a very extensive footnote in the latter section of this. Explaining just like the entire history of fish sauce as it's spread throughout Southeast Asia, and it presents a different benefits in that you get to just take a step back and get to go through the lyrics as though they're poetry, whereas in the actual environment of watching a play live, especially when it's a rap like that, it's very fast and you might not catch everything the first time. It's like when they tell you like, oh yes, you need to go read the lyrics to Hamilton before you go watch Hamilton. There's a similar vibe to that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun just to make notes on all the things I really enjoyed about the process of creating the show over the last 5 years, and putting it into the thing itself.
Do you think that the process of creating this published script will impact how you do the script again when you do it live again in person for an audience?
I think the sort of like the occasional times that I would lean over and just be like, hey, this is like a useful thing we originally used as projections. And I left it open to very much be like, you should be cognizant of where your audience's cultural moment is at and fill them in on all the little like Vietnamese tidbits that they wouldn't necessarily know. Like obviously in Toronto, I think everyone's got a basic ground level of like cultural knowledge about Vietnamese food, to the point where, I'm sure there's a bunch of people in the audience is like, why doesn't he pronounce it correctly? I, as a white person, actually know how that is pronounced. And it's like, don't even worry about it. Yeah, like I can see it being in different contexts that you would need to go into those footnotes to be like, oh, okay, this is actually a really useful footnote to have, and actually put it into the projections, because we know what our audience knows, in the same way that Nam and his Toronto cohort were tailoring the extra tidbits of information for them.
Awesome, thanks so much, Nam. So we're going to do a trivia question to give away a copy of Nam's play, A Perfect Bowl of Pho, or Pho. Now I don't know what to call it. So the trivia question is, what does Jen's mom do to make her mad, make her upset? There we go, Wilfred, that's right. Use the wrong kind of broth. They made it out of powder versus the old school natural way, traditional way. Okay, so there you go. Jessica from Playwrights Canada Press is gonna get in touch, and we will go over to Makambe K. Simamba next, reading from her play, Our Fathers, Sons, Lovers, and Little Brothers. So Makambe K. Simamba is a Dora Award-winning playwright and actor of Our Fathers, Sons, Lovers, and Little Brothers. Other plays include A Chitenge Story, the Drum Major Instinct Trilogy, Makambe Speaks, and Mud. Select acting credits include A Chitenge Story, Invisible, Giant, B, Winners and Losers, and Sia. She is the 2020-2021 Urjo Carreta Artist in Residence at Tarragon Theatre. She recently co-directed Invisible 2 at the University of Lethbridge and is a resident member of the artist-run theater company ARC. Makambe is proudly Zambian, and her intention is to be of service to her community through her ability to tell stories. She is based between Calgary and Toronto. Welcome, Makambe.
Hi, family. Thank you for that intro, Carly. My name is Makambe Simamba. For those of you who don't know me, my pronouns are she, her. I am a Black human wearing a gray hoodie in an ambiguous, blurry background. I'm going to be reading an excerpt of my play, Our Fathers, Sons, Lovers, and Little Brothers. Before I share this excerpt, I want to say that I will be sharing this play IRL in real life. I'm lucky enough to be touring this piece next year. So if you're in Vancouver or Toronto or Hamilton or Montreal, come hang. But for now, here is the first few minutes of Our Fathers. The last inhale. A 17-year-old Black boy in a hoodie appears. His body parts isolate and move in a way that is unfamiliar. He tries to control them. What just happened? He considers his own body. I'm hot. I'm wet. He sees eyes watching him. God? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for I know you are with me. I haven't been to church in a minute. I just thought I'd throw in a little insurance. Are y'all here for Judgment Day? Is God like on Black people time? There should be like a step-by-step instruction manual. A large book appears. The boy approaches the book. He reads, "Your journey to the ancestors." The book glows and inscribes itself. A step-by-step instruction manual. Open me. He walks away. Grandma appears. "Baby, you stand on the shoulders of the ancestors who chose you to represent them in this moment. Open it." "Grandma, aren't you the one who used to force me to go to church? Where is God? And why do I have to?" "That sperm hit that egg and you were no mistake." "Did you just say sperm?" "Grandma?" Grandma disappears. Well, God is actually kind of savage. Have you read the Old Testament? He turned a bitch into salt just for looking back. I got another one. God is so savage. Y'all supposed to say, how savage is he? Okay, God is so savage. Okay, God is so savage. Okay, so he hollers at his homeboy, right? And he tells him to spend like 2 entire months building this huge ass fucking boat. Then he makes him scour the whole earth, gathering all the animals, getting like 2 of each one and shit, just to be like, I'm gonna make it flood. And it's like, dude, you have the power to make it flood, but you didn't have the power to build your own boat? God is so savage. Okay. So it's like a Tuesday morning a couple thousand years ago, right? And God calls up his friend Abraham, right? And he's like, hello, is it me you're looking for? I'm just kidding. That was bad. So he's like, hey, it's me, Lord. Yeah, nigga, what's good? Yeah, okay, how's work? Cool, how's your wife? Okay, cool, how's your only son? I'm gonna need you to sacrifice him. Click. And so Abraham takes his fucking kid, drags the little nigga up a mountain, puts him down on like a altar or some shit, lifts up this huge ass rock, and just as he's about to smash his head into 1,000 tiny pieces, God be like, just kidding, kidding, kidding. And then Abraham's just like, and then God didn't say nothing else. Savage. Ancestors all the way. The boy opens the book.
Thanks, Makambe. That was great. So you said that that you're about to go on tour with the show. So how does it feel to be bringing it back in front of audiences, and then also, I guess, in this moment of time, how does it feel to be doing this show again?
I love opportunities to share the piece and to talk about the importance of Black lives, but I hate that the play continues to be so relevant. I would love for people to be like, Makambe, this is a good play, but this is just not an issue anymore. So maybe just write other stuff. But unfortunately, yeah, it's a funny feeling to be like, cool, 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 cool. The play's still relevant. Cool, 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 cool. We're not moving forward. Cool, 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 cool. Ah! So it's exciting. It's humbling. It feels like the thing that I'm supposed to be doing with my life right now. So that feels like in alignment, but definitely it's tender.
This the research that went into this play sounds like it was really in depth, really meaningful, and also difficult. So can you explain a little bit about your process in researching this show and what you learned out of it?
Sure. The first piece of research was just like an investigation of my body. Just like, what does it mean to be a Black body moving through space, and how does hip hop inform my body and the way that I move my vessel, and then the exploration of like, what does that look like for like a 17-year-old cis male in 2012. So I did an experiment once where I just like dressed up as a boy when I was workshopping the show in Toronto, sort of like in early phases, and I just took my hair extensions out, and it was winter, so I was like bulky, and I just investigated what my body did in public places. I investigated what happened to my body when a police car drove by. I investigated what other people responded to me like in a way that felt different when I was like looking like Makambe. And then the other piece of research was that I felt it was important to travel. So I went to Ferguson, Missouri, and I went to Montgomery, Alabama, and then I went to Sanford, Florida, where Trayvon Martin was killed. And I just sort of meditated on the energy. So the research was like, sure, there were certain things that I found out about, specifically like African American, like Black cultural contexts that I was familiar with, and also was able to like Google and read books about. But the piece of research that I'm interested in still figuring out how to articulate was just like the energetic research of like going to places where things have happened, and then just like meditating in that and seeing how that influences me, because I am connected to that experience. So extremely spiritual. And I have a hard time putting it into words, but yeah, it was kind of like nothing I've ever done before.
Well, spiritual makes a lot of sense given the content of the play and the place where you situate Slim, and also the connection that's in the script itself, speaking with ancestors. In your acknowledgements, you talk about ancestors. Can you also explain, what role they play in your creative process?
Mm-hmm. Those people are sitting right over there. They're just here. They're everywhere. They're all the time. I feel super tapped into them all the time. And part of all of my arts practice feels like it's to be an extension of them. So when I feel like I'm leading with purpose or a sense of service, it's kind of connected to like where I'm from and what I feel like I'm supposed to do here in this life and what I'm supposed to leave for like the next generation of humans. So for me, ancestry is like a powerful yet still mysterious, like I'm still discovering what the potential of that is and how wide ancestry is. When I was in Zambia this last year, I learned that there were slaves that were taken from Zambia. And prior to that, I didn't know that was part of my own history. I was taught that like most slaves came from the West African coast, which is not where my country's located. So when I think about ancestry and when I think about what it's like for myself as a Zambian woman, Caribbean raised, living in Canada, writing a story that heavily deals with African American experience, I'd always ask myself, like, what is the access? Can I tell this story? But when I realized, like, the people who I mention in the play, in the spirit, specifically those who have passed, like, it's very likely we had the same common ancestors. So ancestry for me, within that process, it's kind of like micro and macro. Yeah.
Thanks so much. So we're going to go to a trivia question now to give away a copy of Makambe's play. So the question is, first person to put it in the chat wins. What is the name of the book that Slim opens? Go on. The name of the book that Slim opens. Oh, Charles. Yeah, Your Journey to the Ancestors. Yeah, that's right.
Congrats.
Okay. Thank you, Makambe. And we are going to go next to Maev Beaty and Beaty, yes, and Hannah Moscovitch, who are going to be reading from their play, Secret Life of a Mother. So quickly, Maev Beaty is a critically acclaimed actor, writer, and voiceover artist, originating roles in 23 Canadian premieres, like Hannah Moscovitch's Bunny, Kate Hennig's Last Wife, Judith Thompson's Palace of the End, Sharon Pollock's Angel's Trumpet. She's also co-written and starred in award-winning theater like Secret Life of a Mother, Montparnasse, Dance of the Red Skirts, and interpreted lead classic roles across the country in over 6 seasons at the Stratford Festival, like in King Lear, She Stoops to Conquer, Midsummer Night's Dream. And she's also acted in epic theater endeavors like Soulpepper's August Osage County, Sheep No Wolves, Outside the Marches Passion Play, and Nightwood's Penelope and Volcanoes in Other Africa, a long list of plays from Maev. And she's a Toronto Theatre Critics Award winner and has won multiple Dora Moore Awards and a 13-time nominee. She lives in Toronto. Also, Hannah Moscovitch is an acclaimed Canadian playwright, TV writer, and librettist whose work has been widely produced in Canada and around the world. Recent stage work includes Sexual Misconduct of the Middle Classes and Old Stock, a refugee love story, co-created with Christian Berry and Ben Kaplan. Hannah has been the recipient of numerous awards, including the Trillium Book Award, the Nova Scotia Masterworks Arts Award, the Scotsman Fringe First, and the Herald Angel Awards at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. She and the prestigious Wyndham Campbell Prize administered by Yale University. She has been nominated for the International Susan Smith Blackburn Prize, the Drama Desk Award, Canada's Siminovich Prize in Theatre, and the Governor General's Literary Award. She's a playwright in residence at Tarragon Theatre in Toronto, and she lives in Halifax. So welcome, Hannah and Maev.
She just won the Governor General's Award. She wasn't just nominated, she just won it.
That's right. My apologies, Hannah. How have I disgraced you? I've shamed you on this Zoom call.
A big part of our play is about female friendship, so it's my role to say that about my friend Hannah. I'm Maev Beaty. I am my pronouns are she, her. I am a white woman in my mid to early 40s with shoulder length blonde hair. No, it's more like collarbone. And I'm sitting on the 3rd floor of my home in front of our keyboard where my 8-year-old daughter practices piano after I make her go and practice piano. Hannah, how about you?
Hi, I'm Hannah Moscovitch. I'm a white Jewish woman in my 40s. My hair is gray and brown, and my pronouns are she, her. It's very clear I'm Jewish from my background, where there's a menorah with candles sitting on a fireplace behind me on a white wall. How's that?
That was really good.
Okay, thanks.
I think you're supposed to introduce the play or something.
I am?
Yeah.
I think you're just supposed to.
Because I'm going to read from it, but I wonder if you want to.
I think you're just supposed to read from it, and I'm going to go now. This is a play that Maev and I wrote together with Anne-Marie Kerr and Marinder de Beer called Secret Life of a Mother. It's a confessional piece based on our real life experiences. And in this piece, Maev plays me. Okay, bye.
Hi, I'm Maev Beaty. Thanks for coming. Secret Life of a Mother is a play in 5 acts. So I hope you are ready for the Zoom call to go till about midnight. Just kidding. It's just a short excerpt. Hannah Moscovitch is a writer. She wrote the text, and me and the team have been putting it up. So 2 months after Hannah gave birth to her son, Elijah, the mothering app that she had on her phone sent her this tip. Today, try getting back in the sack with your husband, even if you don't feel ready. Exclamation mark. So a few years ago, Hannah and I set out to write about motherhood because there wasn't a whole lot out there that was or felt like it was for us. We both now have kids. Elijah is 4 years old. At least he was when this play was written. Now he's 6, I think. I have Esme. She's now 8. And in the script, it says that they're at home with their dads right now because I'm on stage playing Hannah. Maev looks down at her thin script and reads from it. Secret Life of a Mother, text notes. There is one character. The character is Hannah Moscovitch. Hannah is a writer, anti-expressive, anti-dramatic. So you're going to have to take my word for it. I'm poorly cast. Hannah is played by her real life friend, Maev Beaty. And then Hannah says in her final text note, so guys, I've tried to record all of what happened. All the gross parts, the ones the blogs say are taboo. Act 1 is titled Miscarriages. What a fun title. In December 2015, I was 14 weeks pregnant. And I went to the IWK and I had an ultrasound of the baby, my organs, and then between them, a small fetus moving in spasms. There was so much movement that the doctor made a joke about how my fetus was going to win the Stanley Cup. A few days later, I woke up in the afternoon and I turned over and something sloshed. I stood up and cupped my hands between my legs and they filled up with blood. Christian, my husband, he was watching hockey downstairs and he came running up, and by then there was a lot of blood on the floor around me. A pool of blood is actually, I was standing in a pool of blood. My hands were shaking, but my thoughts stayed calm, which might describe shock. Christian was having trouble putting sentences together. I remember I was thinking, okay, well, I guess I'm miscarrying again. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. In emergency, this was right before Christmas, so the doctor's offices were closed, and the QE2 Emerge in Halifax was packed with like 70 or so people. There was, no joke, a guy who looked like he'd taken an axe to his forehead, and the nurses had given him like a little like plastic receptacle to, bleed into, and he was, sitting patiently waiting his turn. And I told the triage desk what was happening and how many weeks along I was. And this was great, but weird. They got me a wheelchair and they took me straight in. My first miscarriage, I'd sat in emergency for 3 hours. This time I waited less than a minute. In the wheelchair, I asked the nurse, why? She said, well, you're 14 weeks along. Most miscarriages happen between 7 to 9 weeks. So yeah, the nurse thought I was probably going to have that I might have a more difficult miscarriage. I was taken into a room, and then a doctor wheeled in a portable ultrasound machine, and he held the paddles against my stomach, which was a little distended. My stomach was a little distended because I'd started to show, and there were 4 or 5 residents and nurses in the room by then, and they were all very focused on the screen. I looked over at Christian because he tried to take a sip from a coffee he'd finished hours ago. Or no, actually the coffee was miscarriage number 1, because of course this time he didn't have time to get a coffee. And on the screen, there's the baby hanging, suspended, and not moving. The doctor started pushing down harder on my stomach to try and get the baby to move, and it was weirdly silent in the room. The medical staff were all glued to the screen, and I remember how weird it was to see residents and nurses this emotionally involved. The baby still hadn't moved. The doctor started speaking to the monitor. He said, "Come on, little guy. Come on, move." Actually, hey, hi, sorry, this is Maev. David, would you do me a favor? Would you come on screen and unmute yourself for a second? So Hannah writes here in the script that the doctor was talking to her baby. And I wondered if we'd love to hear it in a voice that's different than my own. I wonder if you would mind saying, "Come on, little guy. Come on, move."
Come on, little guy. Come on, move.
Oh man, you should play a doctor on TV. That was beautiful. Would you mind doing it a couple more times? Let's say like 4 more times, and just like a little pause in between each one. And you can say it like softly, like you're coaxing a fetus.
Come on, little guy. Come on, move. Come on, little guy. Come on, move. Come on, little guy. Come on, move.
And the baby moves. He moves. And the room goes crazy. The doctor shakes Christian's hand. And one of the residents says to me, "I needed some good news." Yeah, and the whole time Elijah was not moving, I was thinking, it's okay. I won't be a mother. That's okay. I probably wasn't going to be very good at it anyway. And that's the excerpt.
Thanks, Maev. And Hannah, great. Thank you for that. That reading is that part particularly is so moving. And I was thinking about when I first saw Secret Life of a Mother at the Theatre Centre when it first premiered in Toronto. I had never heard of these stories told in this way before. And even in the time since seeing the show, it feels like miscarriages, pregnancy has just come quite far in how commonly it's talked about, and how much more of the stigma has kind of gone away. So I'm wondering if you both have noticed the same thing in your circles, and how the reactions to the play have changed over the years since you first started performing it.
What do you think, Hannah?
I mean, for sure, I think part of what was beautiful about doing this show, and maybe of all the shows I've done, of all the many shows, who am I? Of all the shows I've done, I think this one was the most moving to do, because it felt like, I think partly too, because, probably like everyone, for so many of us, like I got told my whole career, like, you don't want to do shows where like only women show up, like that would be bad. And this is a show, like that was one of the things that used to get said, like they're pejoratively, like, you don't want to like write a show that only women like, as though that wasn't like desirable for whatever reason. And I think with this piece, like one of the things that was so moving was that so many women, were seeing themselves represented, and in particular mothers, and seeing experiences represented that for whatever reason, probably because of old taboos, we don't represent so often. So like, I think Maev and I at first it's like you do something like this and you feel like, oh fuck, I fucked it. Like, like this show is way too dark and vulnerable, and you're seeing all of these things that are too honest or too taboo breaking, or you've gone too far. But it felt really good once we had it up, and women were reacting the way they were, and like wanted so badly to tell us like what their experiences were. Yeah,
I think there's less stigma in theory now, and there's definitely more pieces out there about the subject, but I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're there yet as much as we are with other subjects that have moved forward. I mean, one story I love to tell about the 10,000 stories around making the show is this woman who was in an elevator with us, who was taking us to an interview. And she said she remembers wanting kids so badly. She wanted a big, big family. She wanted a bunch of kids. And then the first experience was so hard, so tragically hard, that she thought surely there was something wrong with her, and that she'd been doing it wrong, because it was genuinely that hard. Someone would have told her. Wouldn't someone have told me? So I must be doing it wrong. I must be the bad mom, because if it's this hard, someone would have told me. And it's not true. It's actually that hard, but it's also that beautiful and that rewarding, and it is just normal. It's just normal. Everybody gets born who is alive. So, it's a pretty normal act. Everybody has a mom, whether or not they talk to her or like her. Everyone came from one. So I think it is more common now, but I think it is still, we aren't telling the full truth, I think.
And as we know, you're both friends yourselves. Anne Marie Kerr, your co-writer director, also was a co-creator in this show. And this play is called Secret Life of a Mother, but it only covers motherhood from pregnancy up until early infancy. You continue to be mothers as you go along, as you get farther and farther away from the play. Is there a sequel? Is there a part 2, Secret Life of a Mother, of a toddler coming? Is there anything that you feel like you need to further explore in a similar way as your children get older?
I loved how many women with teenagers or grown adult children would say to us, like, oh, you think, just wait, you guys need to write act 2, you need a sequel. Like, they were like, just wait for it. And I think we're still, our kids are still relatively little, so I'm sure we're in for it. But I also used to tease Hannah because of course, I got the privilege of being in the premiere of Bunny, which is, you know, a play about sort of coming of age and women's sexual reality, their sexual appetite and enjoyment. And then we did this play Mother, and I was like, then we'll do the menopause play, and then we'll do the death play. Just cover all our bases.
Yes, I can't. No is the answer. No, I don't want to do another play about being a mother. I don't think in these terms. But for sure, there is like so much more that happens. Like, you know, being a mother to a 6-year-old son is totally different. You know, your kids grow up and they move so quickly through phases of development, and so he's like a totally different guy than he was when he was 4. So yeah, it changes all the time, but I think I'm good on writing.
Okay, well, let's go to a trivia question now for a copy of Secret Life of a Mother. Where is the question? I have it here. What is Maev's daughter's name? There we go. Wow, that was fast. Elizabeth. Elizabeth was first with Esme. That's right.
That is right.
Okay, thank you, Maev. We're going to stick with Hannah, who is going to be reading from her play, Sexual Misconduct of the Middle Classes. Take it away, Hannah.
Thanks. All right, far more plays than anybody ever wanted me to write. That's why I'm reading twice. Okay, so this is Sexual Misconduct of the Middle Classes. And there's 2 characters in it, John, who's a star professor and star author, and then Annie, who is his student and an undergraduate in first year. And so I'm just going to read you a tiny clip of Annie first so you can hear her voice, and then I'm going to read you John's reaction to meeting her. So this is in an earlier scene, close to the beginning of the play. This is Annie talking to John. Yeah. I look forward to your class so much. We all and I love your work. I read it in high school, and high school was bad, and it was good to know that there was a person in the world who thought how I thought. It meant a lot to me. I admire. I asked my mom, what's the difference between admiration and love? And she said, I don't admire your father. Yeah. I'm Annie. So that's Annie. And now I'm going to read you a little bit of John, and then I'm going to call it. So this is in the 3rd scene, which is titled, What is Annie Trying to Do? The stupid thing about it was, after talking to Annie, it all made more sense. She'd probably been 10 paces behind him or 10 in front all semester, following him to class, following him home in her red coat. So of course, that's why she'd floated into his brain, part of the minutiae your subconscious picks up from your environment. But then why was he still thinking about her? He'd gone inside and Googled her, found out her full name from the class list, and then turned up a photo of her from high school on the field hockey team. And from the admissions website, he'd garnered that she was pulling superlatively good grades, including an A in his own class. Then he'd become so panicked by his interest in her that To calm down, he'd taken the cigarettes out of the freezer, the ones he smoked socially from time to time, and stood out in the cold spring they were having on his front porch, beside the limp bags of garbage and wet newspapers, and smoked the whole pack. He saw a life stretching out ahead of him in which he got lonelier and weirder. Then he'd gone back inside and tripped on a loose floorboard, which was inexplicably the last straw. And he'd picked up the phone to call his wife, from whom he was currently separated. And she'd answered the phone with a laugh in her voice, as though he was pulling her away from a hilarious dinner party. His wife, his third wife, this was yes, it was his third wife, who had left him 6 months ago, and then he'd gone through something of a bad patch. It all started with her telling him that the tenants living in their investment property, a small condo downtown, had given their notice. And what good timing, because she was going to go live in it for a while by herself and think about things. And by things she wanted to think about, she meant the flaws in his character. She'd been very measured and adult during the conversation, so measured and adult that at first he failed to understand what was happening. And then, once he had understood she was leaving him, he was shocked to shit, both by what she was saying, but also by the emotional economy with which she was saying it, as though she wanted to avoid having a big end of the marriage fight, as though she'd withdrawn his right to fight with her in the same way she was withdrawing his right to reach out and touch her tits. He'd sat across from her, looking down at his hands, nodding, throttled, thinking to himself, what the fuck is your problem? Because he didn't beat her or cheat on her, which was ridiculous vestigial sexism on his part. This was 2014, and obviously she should have higher standards than not being beaten and not being cheated on. Obviously she'd wanted more from him, more attention, more affection. And now that she was forcing him to review the last few years of their marriage, he could see it. There were signs of disappointment on her part, of a slow constriction of his demands on her, a lessening of her hopes as he relentlessly drafted and redrafted his last novel and left her to her own devices for months on end. All of which was confounding because he tried so hard not to fuck this marriage up because, among other reasons, such as loving her, he'd fucked up the last two marriages, and yet here they were. He'd civilly discussed with his wife what furniture from the house she should take with her and where in the basement their second set of dishes and extra blender were stored. Then he'd duct tape boxes for her, and he'd rented the moving van and then waved bye to her as she left him in it. Then he'd gone back inside in a black suffocating rage and drank too much and stopped clipping his toenails. And that had gone on for a solid couple of months. He'd still typed, joyless typing, and taught and signed autographs. And then finally, the depression had started to lift. The last few weeks had been less fraught, Then last night, he'd mowed the lawn, met Annie, freaked out over a floorboard, and after diligently avoiding all contact with his wife for months and months and months, he'd broken down and called her, and she'd answered with a laugh in her voice, and it had sure sounded like she was having a ball without him. And they'd had a terse conversation that had turned into an infuriated one. And then they finally had the big fucking fight he'd been angling for all along, ending with his wife yelling into the phone, "We never got past the front hallway of our relationship," and him yelling back, "Well, fucking come into the kitchen then, for fuck's sake. The kitchen's fucking great. It's magic in the kitchen." That's the excerpt. Just wait for Carly to come back.
Thank you, Hannah. So that I also remember seeing that show for the first time at Tarragon and knowing something was up. And then if you're not familiar with it, you should get the script. There's a really kind of pivotal twist that kind of reframes the whole show. And And kind of tangentially, this play, and I saw you tweet about this, Hannah, there's a very strong similarity with a piece that's really captivated popular culture at this moment. Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
Oh my God, I feel like I'm about to blank on her name. Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Okay. And It's All Too Well is the 15-minute movie. And it is the same plot as Sexual Misconduct of the Middle Classes. I was like, whoa, right to the last moment. I was like, oh my God, it's exactly the same. Like, yeah, like eerily. I think probably just because that's a story that repeats.
That's right. So it is a very kind of, it feels like a very isolate, like a specific incident, but it is a very kind of common story, something that is shared between a lot of people. Do you think, what was it about telling the story when you did that made you feel like now is the time that you wanted to write this story, Sexual Misconduct of the Middle Classes?
Well, I started working on it in 2014 or 15, so before the Me Too movement. And I think like well before, and I thought, oh, I'm fucked. Like I'm gonna put this play up and everyone is going to hate me and they're gonna hate Annie. And when the big turn happens at the end and she exposes him and it becomes clear that the whole play is from her point of view, I thought, oh, the audience is not gonna like this. They're not gonna like this. And then we did the first reading in Seattle in 2017 in the summer, right before the Me Too movement sort of like went supernova and before the Harvey Weinstein charges came out. Actually, it totally shocked me. The audience was like, the audience booed John at the end. which was not what I had been like, which was not what I was expecting. And then I think, once again, it was one of those shows where women stayed afterwards and wanted to talk to me and tell me how similar their experiences were to Annie's in the play. And
it is a tricky line because you spend so much of the play inside John's mind, and on surface level, it feels like it's contrary to where a female playwright would be, or where perhaps she shouldn't be, speaking from that perspective. So how was it balanced, making sure that he felt real, like a real person, but also it was still Annie's perspective coming through?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, like, sure, I think like the way it works, so the way the piece works is you think you're hearing from John and he's the one addressing you, and so you spend most of the play thinking you're in his perspective, and then at the end you learn that in fact the whole thing's been written by Annie and she's put this up to try and understand like what the hell happened between her and John. But I think, because I mean, that really is it. Like, you are getting Annie's perspective. And so from my perspective as the author, I'm like, yeah, like that's her perspective on him that you've been seeing. And you can grapple with to whatever degree you think she may have or may have not, like how well she observed him or how badly she observed him. That's like up to you to figure that out. And if you want to imagine that Annie, caricatured him and made him a good guy or made him a bad guy, whatever you want to think, you can.
Thanks, Hannah. We're going to do a trivia question to give away a copy of the script. The question is, for those ready to put it in the chat, how many wives has John had? All right. I can't even see who the first one was. Let's see. Marjorie, yes. Okay, very good. So I'm going to ask all the authors to come on quickly, to turn your cameras on, to wave goodbye as we close tonight's edition of Press Play with Playwrights Canada Press. Thank you so much for joining us. And good night, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.